Okay, thank you. But the reason I'm not recording is that my internet speed is low, so I cannot attach it later on. That's
Yeah.
why. Yeah, sorry about I trouble you for that.
No problem. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Manish. How are you?
How are you? Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
How are you all?
alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Inshallah. Okay, we start with Dua Faraj. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Salawatuka alayhi wa ala abaihi. في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا معينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Okay, at the start, I go through the questions of Surah Al-Shaqaq quickly. Mashallah, everybody, thank you all. You sent your answers. And most of the questions, alhamdulillah, was right. Just few points. And some of the points was common mistakes between everybody. And so, of course, some of the ladies, they had answered completely right. Just I explained some points which I felt that there was common mistakes. I explained the general thing is that, about tadabbur, which we said that the group of tadabbur, they have done research for 20 years and they have extracted the most correct explanation and answers, which we can understand the appearance of Quran by that. So they don't go to the tadabbur is not involved with tafsir, which I explained first session, that tadabbur is not involved with tafsir at all. And whatever we understand is by ayats, word of ayats, which we can see in Quran, nothing else. And just of course, knowledge of Arabic and all this helps a lot, but we don't want to go through, for example, why this ayat was revealed, and nothing. These are all our imams, riwayats from our imams, which those are exactly I explained that riwayats of imam is the most correct way to understand Quran. But in tadabbur, because we are working on the just first level of understanding, we don't go through tafsir. So when I send questions, what is expected is that you answer the questions just by the content of the class. Yes, maybe you answer it, you explain a lot more about it, and that's great if you study more and all. But the points and those points which I mentioned in the class, those are the points we want to answer the questions with. So even if you study more and other resources or other translations or other tafsirs, please answer the questions just by the content of the class, because the content of the class is the way it follows the ayats step by step, one ayat after another, and that's the technique which we want to learn in this course. And then there, for example, maybe when I ask the meaning of words or meaning of the ayats, if you search or go through different translations, you can find different translations. But as I told you, this group of tadabbur, because they have researched and they have extracted the most correct one, which is more sensible for the ayats, they have extracted that. For example, when I go through the questions one by one, I explain what I mean. Okay, question number 1, it was how many groups of ayats were Surah Al-Shaqaq are divided to, which everybody answered right, 1 to 15, ayat 1 to 15, and ayat 16 to 25. And just by this, we want to understand what one of the techniques we learn in tadabbur is that we can divide ayats to different groups, so we can understand them as consequence. For example, one ayat after another, and one group ayats after another groups of ayats, and then generally we come to the conclusion of what the whole surah wants to teach us or wants to tell us. Then number two, most of the words they were right. Your translations, just one of the words, فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. I don't know if you have got questions in front of you or not. Which I had asked, فَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. What does it mean? There were few of ladies, they had written that was they don't like. La yu'minun means they do not believe. Maybe in some translation it says they don't like, I don't know. But it says what's the matter that they do not believe, which Allah wants to tell us with all these proofs. I bring examples, for example, from sama, sky, from earth, from different things. And then فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالشَّفَاقِ and all these qasams Allah makes, shafaq, layl, night, wasaq, wal qamar, all these qasams, فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. But with all these proofs and with the movement, we all can sense it that we are moving towards Allah without authority. So what's the matter with them that they do not believe? This is very important. Then question number 3 was, which ayat is the key ayat in Surah Inshaqaq? Yes, ayat number 6. And what does it mean? What is important on this ayat? It's that this ayat number 6 is saying that, O mankind, you are moving towards your Rabb, towards your Allah. And qadeh, kat, we explained that it has different meanings. For example, in Arabic, and if you go through translations, it says yes, with difficulties you are laboring towards Allah and all this. But the most sensible meaning, and which is according to the whole surah of Inshaqaq, and which is more adaptable to whole surah Inshaqaq, is you are moving towards Allah without authority. So kat means moving without authority. That is very important. That's the point of it's the main point of the question. That we moving without authority. And then ayat number 4, which Allah sky and earth obey their Lord, and it should be like that. 2 reasons that Allah brings these examples. We said that if Allah makes qasam in each surah or bring examples, definitely there is a reason and there is a connection of meaning between these ayats of qasam or reasons with the ayats after that. So when Allah is saying, bring sky and earth as an example, that they listen to their Lord on the day of Qiyamah and they cannot disobey their Lord, there are 2 reasons behind it. One, Allah wants to say that if earth and the sky, with their greatness, how with their glory, with their grandeur, and with their greatness, how with their azamat, how big they are, how great they are, how great they are, and with all their glory and greatness, if they cannot disobey Allah, who you are, O mankind? You are nobody. Because if we compare ourselves with sky, we are just one point in front of sky with its greatness. Or if we compare ourselves with the earth, with that huge earth, with all the glory in it and all this, if they cannot disobey Allah, who you are, mankind, that be able to disobey Allah on the day of Qiyamah? Because these ayats are explaining the day of Qiyamah. Because when sky is, for example, when it says that the earth is leveled and all this happens to sky and earth, these are not related to now. These are all related to the time of Qiyamah. So it's not that, for example, I just tell Hadi quiet, Hadi, shh, please, okay, fine. So it's not that, for example, they don't have authority to disobey Allah, and we have authority to disobey Allah. No, because it's not related to our life. These ayats is السماء انشقت وأذنت لربها وحقت وإذا الأرض مدت, and all these are related to the day of Qiyamah. So the reason is that when they cannot disobey with their greatness and with their glory, they cannot disobey Allah, who you are. So you are nobody to disobey. So you are not, you don't have that power to disobey your Allah on the day of Qiyamah. And then the second reason is that they obey the earth and the sky. They obey the Creator, and it deserves it. It deserves that they obey their Creator. So it deserves that us as humans, as mankind, we obey our Creator as well. Then number 5. Yeah, number 5, most of the answers were right. 2 ways that mankind received their record, one from in their right hands, one from backs behind their back, and 6, why some of the people, they received their result from behind their back. Again, most of the answers were right, and it's just as I explained that those people who they get their result from behind their back, those are those people who they move backwards towards Allah. It means that, for example, imagine there is a wall in front of you and you are moving towards this wall. There are 2 ways of walking towards this wall, which is in front of you. One way is that you face the wall and walk towards the wall. And one way is you don't face the wall. You turn back and move backwards, walk backwards towards the wall. So some of the people, they move in this movement, which is out of their authority. They move towards Allah while their face is towards this world. When they reach Allah, to meet Allah on the day of Qiyamah, they are not allowed to turn back and face Allah. So they get their result from behind their back, which we said that's one of the most punishment for them, that they feel so under azab and under pain there when they know that what a big opportunity, what a great opportunity they have missed, they have lost. That's the most painful part for them. Then number 7, 4 things which Allah made qasam. It was, again, most of the answers were right. Shafaq, night, wasaq, and moon. And then what's the difference between making swear by the night and making swear by the moon? This is, but some of the answers were not right. And some of the ladies, they had answered right. Night, why Allah bringing night as an example? We said that all these night, moon, and all these examples, night, moon, shafaq, wasaq, and all these, Allah wants to tell us that according to their movement, which is stage by stage, you are moving stage by stage. لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبَقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ. Exactly, your movement towards Allah is same as them, as stage by stage. But what's the difference between making swear by night and making swear by moon? Night, as for example, when it's shafaq, is redness of the sky in the evening, and step by step it becomes night. So it gathers darkness it's in itself and becomes dark completely at night. Some of the people in their movements towards Allah, they are like this. While they move towards Allah, they gather darkness inside themselves and they lose their degrees because they are not acting they are not living according to the way of Allah. But some of the people, when they move towards Allah, they move like moon, which moons from first night of moon and to 14th nights of moon, which becomes the complete moon and gathers light in itself. So some of the people in their life are like that. That's why Allah brings night and moon. Some people, when they move stage by stage, they lose light and gather darkness. Some of them, they gather light, and they will have a very good quality meeting with Allah. Number 9, in ayah 20, when Allah says, what's the matter with them that they don't believe? What does Allah mean? Allah wants to say that by all these examples I brought, that shafaq, wasaq, tasaq, and at the start of the surah is as-sama'u shaqqat, is al-arzu muddat, wa azinat li rabbiha wa huqat. They obey Allah, and when the sky and earth obey Allah. And second group, when Allah brings shafaq, wasaq, Lail, Qamar, and all these as examples, they are proofs that we can see every day and night in front of our eyes, that what happens, they move stage by stage, and we move stage by stage. So Allah is saying, with all these proofs, what's the matter with them which they don't believe? It means that there is no excuse for them not to believe. It's so clear. And that's the reason Allah is saying, فَلَا أُقْسَمُ بِالشَّفَقِ. I don't make swear by shafaq. It means that it is so clear that I don't need to make qasam. And then in ayat, in question number 9 and question number 10, Allah is saying, what do people disbelieve? In ayat 22, بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ. What do people disbelieve and deny? What do people disbelieve and deny? Is that they disbelieve in their movements towards Allah. In this they disbelieve their stage by stage movement, and not only they don't believe in it, but also they say yukazzabun, it's lie. And it's by saying that it's lie, they mean that who says these things is lie. And na'uz of Allah, they say God is the liar. And number 11, we said why Allah is using fabashirhum, to announce a painful punishment. Because we said that punishment, when we says Basharat is for normally to announce good news, but here Allah is bringing Fabashirhum to announce a painful punishment. And the reason is that because these people, while they were in the world, in this world, they were in their this world life, they would laugh at people who would they believe, and they would say, "Oh no, it will never happen," and we don't go. They would not believe in the day of Qiyamah. That's why Allah is using their literature, the same literature now when they are on the day of Qiyamah. And another reason is that Allah wants to say that if you would have believed, and if you would have lived according to the way of life of Allah, which is said in Quran, according to Islamic laws, and which is extracted from Quran, then you would deserve Basharat. You would deserve an announcement for Jannah. But now you are deserve a punishment, a painful punishment. Ayat question number 12. Allah is making exception, and what's the criteria for doing good, and which surah discussed that. And we said that the criteria is Quran, and Surah Qashiyah is the surah that explains exactly what's the criteria. And question number 13, explain the direction of guidance in Surah Inshiqaq. The guidance of Surah Inshiqaq, again, most of the ladies had answered right, but just I bring as keys some explain, just as I explained. with few key sentences. That what Surah Al-Inshiqaq wants to tell us that, oh mankind, be aware of your movement towards Allah, because some of the people are not aware of their movement and are not aware of their meeting with Allah. So Allah wants to say that you are moving without authority, and you definitely will meet Allah. So be aware of it, and the only way to rescue and to have a good quality of meeting is that you believe and do amal salih. للذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. And what's the criteria for amal salih is Quran. So these are the questions of Surah Al-Inshiqaq. If there is any question, I'm ready to hear. Any question of Surah Al-Inshiqaq?
No, that's fine. Thank you so much. I don't have any. Maybe somebody else. It's very well explained. Thank you, sister.
No problem. Just Hadi is disturbing somehow here.
Don't worry, I got Sakina on this side as well. We're all in the same boat. All the kids are home.
Now I put on a speaker because I was using headphones, so he would not hear you. Now he's shy. Now he can hear you. He's shy. Okay, now we go to Surah Buruj. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Do you have Quran open, Surah Buruj? Please have it in front of you.
Yes, we have.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We explained Surah Buruj from ayat 1 to 10, which I'll explain again shortly. I'll explain it. We said that Allah is again making qasam, making swear by والسماء ذات البروج واليوم الموعود وشاهد ومشهود. So Allah is making qasam to sky, which contains buruj. And buruj, I explained about buruj in translation. When I went through different translations, because one of the ladies questioned that it has been translated as stars, but in fact, as I explained, buruj is watchtowers, the big, very tall towers, and which they use as watchtower for the areas, for cities, for countries, to watch and watch around and take control over it. Take control over, for example, if there is an enemy, or they can control the situation, everything. So we can say buruj, the real meaning of buruj and the most right meaning of buruj is because buruj is the plural of burj, and burj is tower, means tower, and tower it means watchtowers, which we explained that sky has got very tall towers, watchtowers, which Allah takes control and watches everything from there. And we explained that it don't imagine as physical towers. The concept is physical. And then we explained about 7 skies and all this, which I don't want to repeat it. But if there will be question, I'll answer. But if I repeat it, then it takes time. And وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ, again, Allah is making swear by the day of Qiyamah. And وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ, we explained that according, if we go to ayat 9, وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٍ, we find out that this shahid means who is watching everything, it means Allah, because Allah is watching, ala kulli shay, is watching everything. Mashhud is what something is watched. What is watched? That is mashhud. And what does it mean in this surah? When we go to the following ayat, we understand what does Allah means by mashhud. because after that, after Allah makes swear by sky, which contains all the watchtowers and the day of Qiyamah, and in fact, Allah makes swear by Himself that Washahid, who is watching everything, who is aware of everything, ومشهود, and what is watched and what is happening, and He is watching it. But Allah is saying, ayat 4, قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. We explained that قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ means, أصحاب الأخدود means the group of the pit. Ukhdud means pit. Godal means deep, very deep pit. They are dead. And we explained that these Ashab al-Ukhdud, they were those people that who would make huge pits of fires, and they would burn believers inside. And it would happen physically. It's not a story. It would really happen. For example, when I researched in the internet, it was related to Yemen, when the Najran and the king of those times, he would burn the believers, and he would order very big pits of fire, and he would burn all the believers, even, for example, a mother with a child, and all this. And Allah is saying that when Allah is saying قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ means that okay, when they were died, and when Allah signed their death, in fact signed their death, because maybe some people, which we explained at the end of this group of ayat, that we said at the moment, what are the examples for it? We said we can say even Israel, we can say Daesh, all Takfiri groups, we can say all the zalims in the world, all the obsessors in the world, who they disturb believers, who they disturb mu'minins at the moment in our timing, they are like Ashab al-Ukhdud. And it's not just, this surah is not just related to their time, the time of Ashab al-Ukhdud. No, in our time, we can see how many groups of Ashab al-Ukhdud we have in different countries, how they kill people in Yemen, or even in people in the countries they don't kill people. For example, in France, women are scared of wearing scarves, wearing hijab. This is some disturbing moments. Or, for example, the way they have put Iran under sanctions. Okay, they are not burning them, they are not killing them, but they are killing them gradually by economical pressure, which is very high pressure on people. That I said that I can see that many people, they can't even buy meat once a month, and they are really under pressure. So all these, they are examples of Ashab al-Ukhdud in different countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all this. But from ayat 4 to ayat 9, Allah is explaining about Ashab al-Ukhdud. Then in ayat 10, Allah is giving a general explanation about anybody who acts like Ashab al-Ukhdud. So when Allah is on ayat number 4, it's in قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. Then it says النَّارِ ذَاتِ الْوَقُودِ. Ayat 5 is explaining Ukhdud. Ukhdud is a pit. It means pit. And what is Ukhdud? النَّارِ ذَاتِ الْوَقُودِ. We explained that because the pit they would make was that much full of fire that you could say it is itself fire. So that's why Allah is explaining Ukhdud as the fire itself. إِذْهُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ. Okay. And they would, when they would sit down by it, فَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ شُهُودٌ. And they would watch what they would do with mu'minin. They would watch while they were burning them, they would watch it. So at the same time, they were killed. The point is that, for example, at the moment, we see that those countries who are doing lots of zulm on mu'minin, who are disturbing mu'minin, they live in luxury. For example, their governments, they outwardly they are so happy, nothing happens to them. Allah wants to say that don't look at it like that. It's not that I don't care what they do. and they are living in calm and peace and no problem. No, I've signed their death. This exactly the time they did that, they disturbed moment, they burned believers. I've signed their death, and by I've signed their death. Or means definitely on the day of Qiyamah they will go through a very severe punishment, because this world has got an equation. If we want to judge just according to this world, the equation will not be balanced. We say, okay, they are living happily in this world, but the life is not just this world. So we shouldn't. Allah wants to say that when we go through the rest of ayats, we can understand it better. That what Allah wants to say, that Allah is threatening these ashabul ukhdud, that don't think that you are free, you can continue whatever you want to do. Then ayat number 8, وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَنْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. We said that what's their problem? That they would burn these believers? Nothing except إِلَّا أَنْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ. They would not be against them. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ. They were not against these believers, except that they would believe in Allah. إِلَّا أَنْ يُؤْمِنُوا. So there was no other fault with them except that they would believe in Allah. And then when Allah is saying Billah al-Aziz al-Hamid, and then ayat number 9, الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, Allah is explaining himself, that what was their sin that they would burn them, because they would believe in Allah. Which Allah? Who is Aziz? Means Aziz is always winner, never felt. Who is Hamid? And الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. They would believe in Allah, who is the owner of all the world, skies and earth, all the world. And وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And they would believe in Allah, with Allah, who is the owner of the whole world and who is watching whatever is happening. And they would burn these believers just because of they would believe in such a great Allah. And ayat number 10, Allah is saying, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا. These people, Ashabul Ukhdud. Ayat number 10 is giving a general explanation. It's not just Ashabul Ukhdud. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ means whoever is like Ashabul Ukhdud. فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. And I explained that fatanu is coming from fitna. Fitna, which we use in Farsi and you use in Urdu. In Arabic means that fitna means when they extract gold from gold mines, and this gold is mixed with it's not pure gold. When they want to purify it, they have to melt it, and because of different melting points of different substances has got different melting points. While they melt gold, they can separate impurifies and make it purified, and they can extract the precious gold from it, which is pure gold and very expensive. So they would when Allah is saying إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, they would do fitna with mu'minin and mu'minat. It means the same thing, that they would burn mu'minin and mu'minat, men and women believers. They would burn them to take the precious iman from out of them, because their fault on ayat number 8 we said what was their fault. Their fault was that they would believe in Allah. This is what I mean, that in tadabbur we always go back according to ayat, step by step becomes. So when we say fatanu, then say, well, okay, what fitna means in Arabic? Okay, fitna means separating pure gold from impurified substances. How? By melting by fire and by heating gold and melting it. And what would they do? And because in ayat 8 we are saying that they would not be against those believers who they would burn if they were just because they would believe in Allah. So by this fitna, they wanted to separate the precious iman out from them, which even now it is like that. When people are under pressure by war, for example, in Yemen, in economical situation, or easily, if they are not strong believers, they can separate the precious iman from them, and they take their imans away. So when we use fitna, for me it was so attractive, because before I would hear fitna, for example, even especially in Iran after revolution, every year something would happen and they would call it fitna. This was fitna. Now that I understand that what is the real meaning of fitna. And then ayat 10. So with ayat 10, Allah is saying that those people who they would do fitna, those people who they disturb, because we don't want to use burning, because burning is not just burning with fire, it can be disturbing and putting believers under pressure. So malam yatubu, and they are not regretting it. They don't want to stop it. They don't do tawbah, and they want to continue it. فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمْ. So Allah is promising them punishment, and وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ. And Allah wants to say that this is the very severe punishment, and it is burning, which we explained that. And one of the reasons Allah is emphasizing on this is that is clearly tell us that nowadays, if maybe you have heard that some people they want to say that, oh no, Jahannam is not really fire, and it's just like a hospital which we go, which guilty people, Allah takes them there, and they are under pressure, and for example, for a while, and when they are treated and they are cured, they come out of it. So they just want to bring excuses, and in fact, they want to modernize the meaning of Quran. Allah is saying, no, it is azab. Jahannam is punishment of Jahannam, is azab al-hariq, is burning azab. So it is fire. And ayat 11, إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. Ayat 10, we had إن الذين فتنوا. So when we say tadabbur is one ayat, another after ayat, is like this. When Allah in ayat 10 said إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات, and then promised azab al-hariq and azab al-jahannam, ayat 11, Allah is saying إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات, who they were really believers and they did amal salih. So believe on its own, it's not enough. In any ayat of Quran we have Amanu, you see that many ayat there we have amal salih exactly after that. Amanu and amal salih. So it's not just we say we are believers, but we don't do according to our belief. So those people who they believe and they do amal salih and good things, which we said that amal salih, the criteria of amal salih is Islamic laws, which is extracted from Quran, and we understand it, and our mujtahids, they extracted it from Quran, and by riwayat of Ahlul Bayt, they translated and they extract the details, and our duty is to do accordingly. So أن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحت الأنهار. In ayat 10, Allah said لهم عذاب جهنم وعذاب الحريق. In this ayat says, Allah is saying لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار, the gardens which under the trees there are rivers. And these rivers, anhar, again we explained, and we inshallah when we go through different ayats we go through it, that when we say Allah is saying anhar, rivers, it's not just rivers which we imagine that okay, rivers of water. All of them, there are lots of meanings for it. For example, in Surah Insan, when in one of our majlises I explained about Surah Insan, that we had rivers of kafur and rivers of zanjabils and all this. So this means a lot. and ذلك الفوز الكبير. And then we from ayat 12 to 20, it's second group of ayat. Okay, how there are different techniques that we can understand that we are moving to different into second groups of ayats. Because first group until ayat 11, Allah was by making swear and by all the ayats from 4 to 9, Allah threatened the Ashab al-Ukhdud and who those people who they were burning believers and who they are doing fitna against believers. So it was threatening them, and Allah wants to stand in front of them and that to stop them by making swear that قتل أصحاب الأخدود, by bringing ayat 10, that by ayats for example 7, 8, 9, that Allah is the owner of the whole world, is the most powerful one, is the most known. He can watch everything is happening, so he is aware of everything, and he has got the power to punish these people. And from other side, he has got the power to reward those people who believes and they do amal saleh. But in ayat 12, we see that the meaning is changed. Inna batshaka rabbika lashadid. Allah is saying that the punishment of your Rabb is severe. So the way Allah is talking is changed. How can we say that? If you've noticed from ayat 1 to 11, it was an explanation about Ashab al-Ukhdud and the people who they do fitna against believers. Ayat 12, Inna batshaka rabbika lashadid. Rabbika means your Rabb, and who is Allah is talking to from ayat 12 to 22 is prophets. So the person who Allah is talking to has changed. Before Allah was explaining generally, now Allah is directly pointing to prophet and he is talking to prophet. Why it has changed like this? Why ayat 1 to 11 was Allah was generally explaining about these people to prophet, but from ayat 12 Allah is pointing directly towards prophet, because when they were saying that, because those people who they burn and disturb believers, they don't want they don't want to return from their way. They don't want to do tawbah. Okay, when ayat 1 to 11 works for them, when they come to their sense. How I don't know if I am explaining it clearly or it is confusing for you. I explain it again. If it's confusing, please let me know. I want to say that when Allah is saying all these rules about these people, Ashab al-Ukhdud, and anybody who is like Ashab al-Ukhdud, okay? When does these ayats work for them? How? When does it affect them? It does affect them when they believe in it. But if they don't believe in it and they deny it, it doesn't work for them. And the reason Allah is it's telling Prophet directly, Allah wants to say that if they don't believe, if they don't if they don't return, if they don't do tawbah, or my Prophet, It doesn't, because by denying and by not believing these ayats, they would in fact they would say that prophets is liar, because all these ayats were reciting by prophet to them. And when they would not believe it, and they would not make tawbah, and they would not return from them, and they would continue their way, it means that you are liar, we don't believe in you. So by these ayats from 12 and following ayats after 12, one point Allah wants to threaten them again that, okay, if you don't believe, you don't, these are the reasons which I'll explain. These are the reasons that you are wrong. And from another point, the reason Allah is pointing Prophet directly, Allah wants to tell Prophet that don't worry, if they don't believe in what you say, and they deny you and they in fact they make you liar, don't worry about it. So ayat 12, Allah is saying that inna batshaka rabbika lashadid. From here, please notice, please concentrate, because I want to bring reason after reason. So maybe it will be a little bit difficult to understand. When Allah is saying inna batsha rabbaka lashadid, means indeed the punishment of your Rabb is severe. Another thing I explained that generally I try not to translate the names of Allah, and I am trying to use the same title. For example, when it says inna batsha rabbika lashadid, I'm going to use Rabb. Or whenever it says Wallahu, I try to use Allah, because in fact you can't translate Allah to any other words. Or Rabb. Rabb means who has created you and who is your owner. And if I want to translate it, I have to every time I have to explain a sentence about it, that was created you and who is your owner. So just remember it, that Rabb is your owner. So wherever we say Rabb, so just imagine this, that our owner, who owns us. So when Allah is saying, indeed the punishment of your Rabb is severe, if you notice, if you know Arabic, inna is in Arabic is for emphasizing. Inna means indeed. Batsha rabbika la shadid. Again, la is for emphasizing. And shadid means severe, which is the meaning is emphasizing itself. And then in Arabic, we have two kinds of sentences. One is the sentence which starts with verb, and one kind of sentence starts with noun. In Arabic grammar, if a sentence starts with noun, it shows that it is emphasizing something. And this sentence, inna batshaka rabbika lashadid, it starts with noun, batch. So it is emphasis. So what I want to say is that there are four emphasizing on this ayat. Inna means definitely, indeed. And because the sentence has started with noun, it's according to Arabic grammar itself, it's emphasized. The whole sentence is emphasizing. And la shadid, la again means definitely and surely, and shadid, the meaning is severe. So the meaning is strong, severe, is emphasized. So Allah, by for emphasizing, is saying that definitely, surely, indeed, the punishment of your Rabb is strong, is severe. The grip of your Rabb is severe. Why Allah is saying that? Because they wanted to continue their way. Those people, Ashabul Ukhdud, and or any of those people who they are like Ashabul Ukhdud, they want to continue, and the only way they can continue their way is that they don't believe in Azab al-Jahannam, they don't believe in Azab al-Hariq. Because if they believe, how there will be no excuse for them to continue what they do. So the only way they can continue is that, they say, the Quran is not right. Na'udhu billah, Allah's word is not right, is false, is lie. That's the only way they can deny it and continue their own way. So Allah wants to say that, no, it's not the way you think. It's not that this what I explained in ayat 1 to 11 is not like that. It is wrong. Then before I move forward, I explained that from ayat 1 to 11, just ayat 11 is talking about Inna allazina amanu wa amilu salihat. The rest of it is about Ashabul Ukhdud and those people who they were like Ashabul Ukhdud. So ayat 11 is not the main ayat in this group of ayats. So the main purpose or the main what Allah wants to tell us in this surah is not about Amanu wa Amilu Salat, which Allah has explained it just to tell us that yes, these people are different. But the main thing Allah wants to explain to us from ayat 1 to ayat 11 is about Ashabul Ukhdud and all the people who are like Ashabul Ukhdud. So Allah wants to say that when ayat 12 in Batsha Rabbaka Lashadid is not the way you think that all these I said from ayat 1 to 11 is lie and is not right. Of course it is right, and indeed and surely and definitely the punishment and grip of your Rabb is strong. Now why we are saying this? If you notice the ayat 13, innahu huwa yubda'u wa yu'id. In ayat 13, Allah is bringing reasons for ayat 12. Because innahu is like that, if, for example, we say because that or something like that. So when Allah is saying that the punishment is very strong, why? Because huwa yubda'u wa yu'id. Because he originates, yubda'u means he originates, means the creation, he originates the creation of everything. I don't know if you have heard that we say he is mabda' wa ma'ad, mabda' and ma'ad. Mabda' or yubda'u means the start, the originates of every creation. Yu'id means when they go back, the day of resurrection. So indeed, he originates the creation of everything and reproduce of the day of resurrection. Means he brings everything back again to life on the day of Qiyamah. So why, when we say Huwa, he is something like that, when we explain Yubda'u wa yu'id with these two attributes, these two specifications for Rabb, which he originates the creation of everything and he reproduces everything. How can we say somebody like this is not capable of a severe punishment? How can we deny it? Who can stop him? So this is the reason. You see, why we say his punishment is his batch is shadid, his grip is strong. Why we are saying that? Because he is the one who is yubda'u wa yu'id. He originates the creation of everything and yu'id and reproduce everything on the day of resurrection, the day of Qiyamah. So he is capable of everything. He is the commander and control. Everything is in his control. Then ayat 14 we say وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. He is the forgiving and the most loving. One question comes here. What's the relation between this ayat from Batsha Rabbika Lashadid, that severe and strong punishment, we came to هو الغفور الودود. He's the most, he's the forgiving, he's most forgiving and most loving. Are these two, um, isn't there any conflict between these two? We want to bring three reasons according to the whole ayahs of Surah. We want to bring three reasons for this. The reason I'm saying you need to concentrate, because you see, I'm saying everything, I'm explaining everything with reasons and logic by the help of ayats of this of the same ayats of this surah, Surah Buruj. Okay, we want to answer this question: that isn't there any conflict that after Batsha Rabbika Shadid and all these Azabul Jahannam, Azabul Hari and all this, now we are saying Huwal Ghafur, Allah is saying Huwal Ghafurul Wadud. Allah is saying that if you notice ayat 10, if you go back to ayat 10, Allah is saying, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا. Those people who they burned, who they disturbed, believers, and then they did not make tawbah, they did not return from their wrong way. So it means that Allah wants to say that if I'm saying فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمْ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ, it doesn't mean that I'm only punishing and I'm just there to punish people. No, if you make tawbah and you regret what you did and you return from your wrong way, I am Ghafur al-Wadud. I am forgiving and I am the most loving. Another reason, if you notice ayat 11, it can go back to that ayat that this Kafurul Wadud is for those in Allazina Amanu wa Amilu Salihat, which Allah said, Lahum Jannatun Tajri min tahta al-anhar. For them is the gardens who the rivers under it, and explain that they will be given Jannah. Their place will be Jannah. The third reason for the third answer for this question, that how can be Kafur al-Wadud here or between all these ayats, and which is the most important points of this of the reasons between all these reasons, this is the most important reason, is that Allah is saying that in ayat 13 we said innahu huwa yubdi'u wa yu'id. إنه هو يبدأ ويعيد. We said that's the reason, and that's the reason for ayat 12. That's the proof for ayat 12. Why we said Batsha Rabbika Shadid? Because he is the originates and repeat. He originates and repeat. إنه هو يبدأ ويعيد. And then Huwa al-Ghafur al-Wadud, if you notice, we have Wav at the start. Wa huwa al-Ghafur al-Wadud. We explained before that in Surah An-Shaqaq, that wherever we have Wa at the start of ayats, it means that ayat is connected to ayat before. So Allah is saying, إِنَّهُ هُوَ يُبْدِأُ وَيُعِيدُ وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. Allah wants to say that, okay, if he originates everything, and if he can reproduce everything, and if his grip and his punishment is so strong, why you disturb the believers in him? When you burn those people who they believe in him, who they believe in Allah. Which Allah? The Allah which was Aziz and Hamid. Which Allah? Who was Lahu Mulku Samawati wal Ard, the owner of earth and sky, the whole world. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in shahid, who was watching, who everything is happening. And if he is yubda'u wa yu'id, so how can he ignore that those people who they believe in him, they are under pressure? How can we ignore it? That, oh, though he is saying that Ashab al-Ukhdud and those groups of people who disturb people, who are disturbing people, who they believe. Believe in who? Believe in Allah. Which Allah? Who is the most powerful? Who is the most? Who is the owner of everything? Who is aware of everything is happening? Who himself is originating in creation? Who has originated the creation? And who who will bring everything again, reproduce everything? He is the owner of all these what is happening in the world. And now in that case you are burning and disturbing those people who they believe on him, who has got all these specifications. Then how can you expect that he ignores you? Definitely, because he is Ghafurul Wadud towards believers, that he will punish you with Batsha Rabbika Lashadid. I don't know if this is important, if you got the step-by-step meaning or not. If not, please ask me now, because I don't want to be confused. Is it clear or not?
Sister, can you repeat it slightly? I'm still a little confused.
Yeah, okay.
If you could summarize it again, thank you, please.
Yeah, Alex, I'll repeat
Thank you.
You know, we said وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ, and while where we started this discussion was that we said, isn't Ghafur al-Wadud, isn't it any conflict between Ghafur al-Wadud right after the ayat of Inna Batsha Rabbika Lashadid? Because we are all talking about that Allah is فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ الْحَرِيقِ. Allah is Allah promises that He will punish them. And even in ayat 4, Allah said قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. قُتِلَ is past tense. It means that they have been killed. It means that He has signed their Nabudi. I can't find unfortunately an English word for it now in my mind, that He has signed. I want to say that even if now they are living happily in calmly. For example, imagine Israel, the government of Israel or US, they are living happily. They do all the zones in all over the world to all believers, and they don't care, and they continue their life with no worries and in luxury. They have got happy life and all this. Then Allah said in قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. That was important. That Allah said, don't think that they are living outwardly, they are living happily. No. Same time they burned the believed people. The same time they sat down by the Ukhdud, by the pit of fire, and they watched what they did, which is now we can adopt it to our timing, that what they are doing to all believers in different countries. Allah is saying that I have signed their killness, that they have done their azab exactly at the same time. So they don't think that they are living with no problem now, and I will not punish them. And to emphasize that, to make them that believe it, don't deny it, don't say that, oh, Prophet is the liar. Allah is bringing ayat 12, that inna batsha rabbika lashadid. The punishment of your Rabb is definitely, surely severe and strong. And we said that why is we are saying that? We said because huwa yubda'u wa yu'id, He originates creation, and He is the one who reproduces on the day of resurrection. So it means He is all power. And after these ayats, He is saying وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. He is the of forgiving and the most loving. Then the question is that, okay, if Allah is saying all these, promising all this punishment, what does it mean that He is of loving and most loving? There is conflict in our mind between these ayahs. We brought three reasons. We said one reason Allah is saying Huwa al-Ghafur al-Wadud, He is the of forgiving and the most loving, is that Allah Himself said in ayah 10 إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا. Those who they did that and they did not do tawbah and they did not regret it and they did not change their way. They فلهم عذاب جهنم. Otherwise, Allah is the of forgiving. He will forgive them. If He would forgive them if they would do tawbah and they would regret it and they would change. Another reason we said that it's Allah in ayat 11 said إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. Those people who they believed and did amal saleh, Allah is the most loving and forgiving for them. And the most important point of this ayat, which we said is according to ayats of Surah Buruj, is the third reason. That what is the third reason? We said that Allah wants to say that, okay, I said inna batsha rabbika lashadid because huwa yubda'u, because he is who yubda'u wa yu'id, which I don't repeat the meaning, and it was reason for rabbika lashadid. And then when Allah is saying huwa al-ghafur al-wadud, we say it starts with wav. Wav, it means that it is connected to the ayat before. So Allah wants to say that, okay, you are burning the believers, or you are disturbing the believers with which guilt? With that guilt that they believe in Allah. Which Allah? The Allah who is Aziz al-Hamid, who is Lahu mulku samawati wal ard. These are all ayahs before. And the Allah who is ala kulli shay'in shahid. It means that Allah who is the most powerful, who is the owner of the whole world, and who is the most aware of everything. And huwa yubda'u wa yu'id, the Allah who originates creation and returns everything. You are burning these people, believers, with this excuse that they believe in Allah, in such a powerful Allah who is the owner of the whole world. And how do you expect that Allah, who is the owner of the world, doesn't care about his believers? How do you expect it? So, because he is Ghafurul Wadud towards his believers, because he is the most loving and of forgiving towards who they believe in Allah, so he would not ignore what you do towards his believers. While you disturb Allah's believers, while you burn Allah's believers, when you put them under pressure, just with this excuse that they believe in Allah, because in ayat 8 we said وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ, they would not be against them إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ, except because they were believing in Allah. Okay, you are disturbing and burning and putting, pressurizing these group of people who they believe in Allah, and Allah, they believe in Allah, which Allah who is the owner of the world, who is Yubda'u wa Yu'id, who is the most powerful, and وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ, and who is the most loving and of forgiving. If he is the most loving and of forgiving, he is the most forgiving in the world, so how can ignore his believers? How can he not? He doesn't love his believers. How can he be ignorance towards his believers? So definitely and surely in Batsha Rabbika lashadid, you know that if you burn believers, if you disturb your Allah's believers, be sure that Allah would not ignore it. And there will be azab jahannam, lahum azab al-hariq for you. And although it's not happening now outwardly at the moment, you feel that you think that you are Allah is not punishing you, and you're carrying your life with no problem. وَتَلَا أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ, your azab and your death and your azab has been signed at the when وَإِذْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ. Exactly the same time you burned the mu'mineen in Ukhdud, and you sat down by Ukhdud, by pit of fire, and you watched it. At the same time, your punishment has been signed. Your punishment paper or whatever has been signed, but you think still, because you want to carry on what you do, you deny it. So there will be no excuse to deny it. Allah is emphasizing. And the reason Allah is pointing Prophet and says these things is that while he wants to threaten those people like Ashab al-Ukhdud, at the same time he wants to tell Prophet that you don't worry if they deny you and if they name you liar. No, it's not like that. And definitely, definitely it happens. The punishment happens for them. And after that, Allah in ayat number 15 is saying Zul Arshal Majid. Zul Arshal Majid means the glorious owner of the throne. It means that Arsh means commanding, commanding of the whole world. It's not commanding the whole world. It's the Arsh means the place who the commander of the whole world sits down there. If you want to translate it physically, yeah. Because Arsh, we hear it in Quran in different ayats. Arsh, for example, Al Arsh Istawa, Zul Arsh Al Majid. So Arsh means that the place which the commander of the whole world sits down there. For example, imagine, I don't want to bring that example, but for example, where is Queen, for example? The place is Queen there. Now imagine that, but it's not physically. So when we say Zul Arsh Al Majid, it means that Allah is the commander of the whole world, and the place of where he sits down for commanding the whole world, which is not physical, okay? Which is not physical. Allah wants to say that this Allah is the one who is Zul Arsh Al Majid, is the glorious owner of the throne. He is the commander, is the wonderful commander of the whole world. In fact, Allah is explaining himself again to show his power, to show that definitely he's the most powerful and he will punish these people, and their punishment has been signed before, has been confirmed before. So if we say that Bacha Rabbika Lashadid, because he is Zul Arsh, because he is the commander of the whole world, because he is Majid, he is the superb commander of the world. And then in ayat 16, Fa'alun lima yurid. Fa'alun lima yurid means he definitely does what he intends. Fa'alun lima yurid. Yurid means what he intends. Fa'alun means doer. He does, definitely he does what he intends. So up to ayat 16, Allah is saying from ayat, for example, after in Bacha Rabbika Lashadid, from ayat 13 to 16, Allah is explaining himself to prove that definitely their punishment is a severe punishment and definitely it happens. Then after in ayat 17 and 18, Allah is bringing examples from history, from for example, he's saying that Hal ataka hadithul junud, didn't you has the story reached you of the hosts? Haven't you heard? In fact, haven't you heard about the story of the hosts? And he brings two examples of Fir'aun and Thamud. Fir'aun, you know all about Fir'aun. He was for example, a very powerful king, who Allah brings him as an example in many ayats of Quran, that he was that powerful that he was saying Ana Rabbakum al-A'la. It means that he was saying that I am your Rabb. He was to that point that he would say that I am your Rabb to the people. And then Allah said that I keep your body, nunajjika badanak, in different other surahs, which we don't want to go through it, that I keep your body safe for people to get lessons from it, to learn lessons from it. And we know that he had his wife Asiya, which is related to the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, what happened. And again, I don't want to go through the story that Asiya was a real believer of Allah. To and Fir'aun, it is said in history that he would love Asiya. She was the most the closest wife to him, and she would love him. She would love her, and he would Fir'aun, sorry, she and her, I mixed she and her. He would love her, and he would listen to whatever she would say. For example, to the point that when they got Hazrat Musa from sea, Asiya asked Fir'aun to save him as her child, and he accepted because of Asiya. To that point, he would love her. But when he found out that she doesn't believe in Fir'aun as her Rab, and she believes in Allah, Fir'aun, he burned her and he killed her in a very in the worst situation case, in the worst situation killing that you can imagine. For example, it is said in history that he got people that first they got her skin out. I don't want to explain it, and we don't have time as well. I want to say that Fir'aun would love Asiya very much, but because she didn't believe in him and she believed in Allah, he killed her in the worst way. And so that's why Allah is bringing Pharaoh as example here. And then Samud, they were a group of people that they would believe in themselves as very powerful group, powerful people, because they had made even their cities inside the stones in the mountains. They had with different devices, and they would think that because their houses is made from the stones inside the mountains, and all they are so powerful, so nothing can take control over them, nothing can destroy them. That's why Allah is saying that, didn't you hear about them? Even to the point that they were that much powerful and they would think they are that powerful, I destroyed them. So Ashab al-Ukhdud, or people you are like Ashab al-Ukhdud, who are burning or disturbing believers just with the excuse that they believe in Allah, be aware that you will, your end will be like them. So don't think that you are so powerful. Or you as Israel, don't think that you are so powerful. And then بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي تَكْذِيبٍ. Allah is telling by a prophet that if they are denying it, it doesn't mean that these punishments and these things doesn't happen to them. بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي تَكْذِيبٍ. Nay, those who disbelieve are in denial. Those who disbelieve are in the act of giving lie to the truth. Those are who disbelieve, they are kafir, and they disbelieve, because we had before we said that, or I explain again now because maybe I haven't explained before, that afterwards be aware of this point. This is important point, that when we have kafir in, for example, Surah of Quran, different ayats, it can have different meanings according to the meaning of those ayats, which I think I have explained before in Surah Ma'arij and different surahs, that, for example, kafir in every surah, according to the meanings of this ayats of that surah, can have different meanings. Although generally it has got same meaning, but if we want to go through details and understand the details of ayat, kafir, the way we understand kafir is according to the meaning of the surah of the ayats of the surah which we go through. For example, now in Surah Buruj, we say that those who believed in Allah, they were burned. Now, بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا means who they were against them, who they would burn them, like Ashab al-Ukhdud. And those people, those kind of people, they try their best to put lie. They say that Allah is liar, na'udhu billah. and they deny it. Free takzib. Takzib means denying, in the act of giving lie to the truth. When something is haq, they try to say no, it's not haq. It means takzib. So those disbelievers, those who disbelieve, they are denying. So it's not lie. Quran is not lie. It is truth. But those people try to put it in, to put lie into truth, and they do takzib. And ayat 20, Allah is in Wallahu min wara'ihim muhit. Allah encompasses them from every side. Allah is dominating them in every way. So if they deny it, Allah is aware of what they do. بل هو قرآن مجيد. It means that what they are denying and what they are trying to say it is lie, it is Quran al-Majid. It's a glorious Quran. في لوح محفوظ, ayat 22 and last ayat. في لوح, it is a glorious Quran in a في لوح محفوظ, in a guarded tablet. It is protected by Allah. It's Quran al-Majid is glorious Quran which is protected by Allah from the interference of any kind of evil. So how can they say it is lie? So, O Prophet, if they are not doing tawbah, if they are not lam yatubu, if they do fitna on believers, women and men and women believers, and they burn them, they disturb them, be sure, surely, definitely, why? Because huwa yubdi wa yu'id, and what they deny it, and because they want to continue what they do. For example, if now at the moment in our time, if Israel, US, or all the governments of all different countries, who they sell, for example, weapons to Saudi to fight against Yemen, if they believe in these ayat and they accept that soon they will be punished severely, they would not sell it. So they have to deny it. They have to say it is lie. But why they are saying it's lie, and what is it? Is what they deny is not something, for example, people, normal person word, is Allah's word. It's Quran and Majid, will filawh mahsub, which is protected, which hasn't changed. It is truth. It is real truth. So the first group of ayats, ayat number 1 to 11, wanted to threaten the peoples who they were like Ashabul, it wants. We don't want to say it wanted. The first group, ayats 1 to 11, wants to threaten the people who they disturb believe women and men. They disturb and burn or pressurize believers to take their precious iman away from them. For example, they say, okay, if you don't believe in Allah, now, for example, they say if in Iran, if you don't believe in Allah, if you don't believe in Islamic government, or US is saying, oh, we support you, we do this, we do that. Allah wants to tell them that don't think that you will not be punished, and Allah wants to threaten them. And the second group of ayats wants that, because these kind of people who they disturb believers, they want to carry on what they do. They try to deny what is Allah is saying. And in the second groups of ayats from 12 to 22, Allah wants to neutralize the activities and actions of seditionists, as they want to expose the threats of God as a lie. It means that because they want to deny what Allah is saying, to carry on what they do, Allah wants to neutralize this. That no, you are wrong, and definitely it will happen. So the first group was threatening the seditionists, and the second group wants to say to neutralize their activities, which they try to deny and say these are all lies and it's not truth. What is written in ayats of Surah Buruj from ayat 1 to 11, it will never happen and it's not truth. It's not real. It's not. It's false. Okay, just a question between group one and group 2. Which group is the main point of surah? You think by the explanations of surah? Yeah.
The first group.
Yeah.
Group Ashab al-Ukhdud.
Yeah, the first group of ayat is the main group. How do we understand it? Now we explain this ayats. By meaning, we can say one way is that by meaning we can say yes, the first group is the main groups of ayats, and a general formula for recognizing the main point is that we notice that which group depends on the other group. If we go through the meanings and explanations of ayat, we should notice that which groups depends on other group. If we notice the second group, the first group by itself is complete. But second group, if we just go through the meaning of second group, we can see that the meaning is not complete. And it depends on the meaning of the first group of ayats. With those ayats, we can understand it. So we say that the first group is, so this is another formula for tadabbur, that we see which groups of ayat are depends on other groups, and which they are not they don't depend. And then last point I mentioned is that the guidance of surah. What's the guidance of Surah Al-Buruj? Is that prevent sedition against believers, and Allah wants to confront with the seditionists and to stop them. That be aware of what you do, and there will be definitely and surely there will be a severe punishment for you. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Okay, if there's any question, if any ladies they want to leave the group, they can, because I don't want to. I know you are all busy. But if there is any question, you want to ask it now or send it later. I'm ready. No question.
Sister, sister, in ayat 14, as you said, for like وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. So
Yeah.
it is using in two ways, or I can one is for the people who have done zulm on believers, but after that they do toba. So in one sense it is using وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ for them who do toba after zulm. And secondly, for believers, the believers on whom they have done zulm, the like Ashabul Ukhdud, or the people like Ashabul Ukhdud who are still doing zulm on the believers. So in second meaning, second or in other sense, huwa al-Ghafurul Wadud is using for the believers, that Allah is seeing all the zulm, and Allah is aware of the zulm, and he will definitely punish them, punish the zalim people, because they are doing zulm on the believers. Am I right?
Yeah, you are completely right. Yeah, they are doing zone on the believers. Which kind of believers? Those believers who they believe in Allah. Which Allah? With all those specifications and attributes which He has explained. Allah is explaining in Surah Buruj that He is the most powerful. How can you expect that He is the most powerful commander of the whole world, and you are disturbing His believers? And how you don't you expect that you will not be punished? So because Allah is Ghafur al-Wadud towards His believers, so He will punish you. It's like, it's like what, for example, parents, they love their children. So if they see somebody is disturbing their children because they love their children, definitely they will confront, or they will go against the person who is disturbing their children. So it is. We can bring an example like that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sisters, any more questions?
Is it batsha mean? Is it a punishment? Batsh mean?
Yeah. Batch means grip. Means in Farsi we say girftan. This big grabs and grip. But when I search the word in English, it says grip or punishment. Yeah, means that they will be gripped by the grip of rab is severe. Punishment of rab is severe. Batch means that, yeah, punishment, grip. Yeah.
And is it possible that just quickly, can you tell the 4 emphasis on this surah? So how, if we look at the surah, how we know that I know one is for the inna, isn't it?
You mean
yeah. The other is the la, for that ayah number 12. So la is one of the emphasis, and the other one is inna.
Yeah.
And what are the other two? Because you said it's 4 emphasis.
The third one is shadid itself, the fourth, because shadid is severe. So it is emphasizing by the meaning of shadid. When they say it is severe punishment, it is emphasizing on punishment, yeah, by the word of shadid, the meaning of the word of shadid. And the fourth one, because this sentence has been started with noun, we said there are 2 types of sentences. Sorry. There are 2 types of sentences in Arabic. One type starts with verb. One type of sentence starts with noun. In Arabic grammar, if a sentence starts with noun, it is emphasizing. It shows emphasizing. So because inna batsha rabbaka lashadid, bats it's noun and it is starting with noun, not verb. Yeah, because it's starting with noun. It is, for example, ayat 8, وَمَا نَقَمُوا. Yeah, وَمَا نَقَمُوا. It is, مَا نَقَمُوا is verb. Or for example, we say فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنَ. فَتَنُوا is verb in Arabic grammar. But here, in بَطْشَ رَبِّكَ لَشَدِيدٌ, there is no main verb in it. We say jumla sentence is noun sentence. So in this kind of sentence in Arabic grammar, it shows emphasize. So we have got 4 emphasize.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, inshallah.
Remember to Jazakallah, sister.
Any question, please send it to me by message. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
You got the answer for your Buruj, yeah, sister?
Yes, I have. Thank you so much, Jazakallah.
No problem. Okay, you can leave. Okay, Khuda Hafiz.
Okay, Allah Hafiz.
Okay, Khuda Hafiz. Jazakallah khair, sister.
Khuda Hafiz, Sister Manoj. Thank you for your time.
Jazakallah. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz, Bushra.
Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz, beta. Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz. Khuda Hafiz. अब कैसी हैं आंटी?